Stop what you're doing for just a moment. Close your eyes. Take one deep breath. Now ask yourself this question. What if every single thing you're experiencing right now, every relationship, every struggle, every limitation, isn't actually about the outside world at all? What if it's a perfect mirror reflecting back exactly how you see yourself? Open your eyes. Because what I'm about to share with you in the next hour could fundamentally change how you understand the relationship between your self-perception and your lived reality. This isn't philosophy. This isn't positive thinking. This is quantum mechanics meeting consciousness in the most personal way possible. You've been working on yourself. I know you have. You've done the therapy. You've read the books. You've practiced the affirmations standing in front of the mirror, saying, I am worthy, I am powerful, I am enough. You've created the vision boards. You've set the intentions. You've tried to manifest, and maybe some things shifted temporarily. Maybe you felt better for a few days or even a few weeks, but then the pattern returned. The same type of person showed up in your relationships. The same financial ceiling appeared. The same self-doubt crept back in. The same opportunities passed you by, and you started to wonder, am I broken? Am I doing something wrong? Why does everyone else seem to be able to change their reality except me? Here's what I need you to understand right now. You're not broken. You're not doing it wrong. You're not missing some secret ingredient that everyone else has. What's actually happening is that you've been trying to change your outer world while your inner perception of yourself, the way you observe yourself, remains unchanged. You're trying to repaint a house while the foundation is cracked. You're trying to change the reflection in the mirror by touching the glass instead of turning around and looking at what's being reflected. What makes this approach different is that we're going to bridge three dimensions of understanding that are rarely brought together. Pilar 1, the science of consciousness. We're going to explore the quantum observer effect, the scientifically proven phenomenon that the act of observation literally collapses quantum possibilities into physical reality. This isn't metaphor. In 1927, physicists discovered that particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until they're observed. Your consciousness isn't just witnessing reality, it's creating it through the act of observation. And the most powerful thing you observe, yourself. Pilar 2, energy, self-care as medicine. Your self-perception isn't just a thought, it's an electromagnetic field. It's a frequency that radiates from your heart, your brain, your entire biofield. The way you see yourself creates a measurable energetic signature that affects every cell in your body and extends up to 3 feet outside of you. When you change how you observe yourself, you literally change the electromagnetic information your body is broadcasting to the quantum field. Pilar 3, natural magic. There's an ancient understanding that's been forgotten. The universe is a living mirror, not a dead mechanical reflection, but an intelligent field that responds to the quality of your self-observation. When you work with the natural cycles, lunar phases, elements, grounding practices, you're not just doing rituals. You're recalibrating your relationship with the mirror itself. When you bring these three together, something extraordinary happens. You don't just change your thoughts about yourself. You don't just heal your emotions. You literally shift the quantum observer that you are. And when the observer changes, everything in the field of observation changes with it. Now, before we go deeper, I need to tell you something. This content is activational. As you watch this video, you might notice physical sensations, tingling in your hands or feet, warmth in your chest, maybe even emotional releases or sudden clarity about patterns you've been living. Some people report a strange sense of being seen for the first time in their lives. That's not coincidence. That's your system recognizing truth. That's your higher self saying, yes, finally, this is what I've been waiting for. Your body knows things your mind hasn't caught up to yet. So trust what you feel in your body more than what you think in your mind as we move through this together. This isn't just information. This is transformation. And transformation begins the moment you recognize yourself as the observer who's been creating everything you've been experiencing. Let's begin the journey from self-judgment to self-recognition, from reflection to creation. For the past several years, I've been diving deep into the intersection between quantum physics, neuroscience, and what I call practical spirituality. Not as some mystic disconnected from reality, but as someone who's obsessed with finding truth, whether that truth is in a physics laboratory at Stanford or in a 3,000-year-old meditation practice. And here's what I've discovered. Everything we've been taught about self-improvement is backwards. We've been taught that we need to fix ourselves, improve ourselves, make ourselves better so that then we can have the life we want. But quantum mechanics reveals something radically different. Consciousness doesn't emerge from matter. Consciousness is what collapses matter into existence. You are not a person trying to observe reality correctly. You are the observer, and reality arranges itself based on the quality and frequency of your observation. Your self-perception isn't a consequence of your experiences. Your experiences are a consequence of your self-perception. This is not philosophy. This is the cutting edge of consciousness science. And when you understand it, really understand it, you realize that every person, every circumstance, every limitation in your life is showing you with perfect precision exactly how you've been observing yourself. Today, you're going to receive the complete map. Part 1, the quantum observer effect. We'll explore the 1927 double-slit experiment that shattered classical physics and proved that observation creates reality. You'll understand why you're not just witnessing your life, you're quantum mechanically generating it. Part 2, the mirror mechanism. How the universe operates as an intelligent reflecting field. We'll examine research from the HeartMath Institute 1993, showing that your electromagnetic field carries the information of your self-perception and literally broadcasts it into your environment. Part 3, the 3 levels of self-observation. Why your conscious self-image is only 5% of what's being observed. We'll map the subconscious and unconscious patterns that are actually running 95% of your reality creation. Part 4, the biofield of self-perception. The energetic anatomy of how you see yourself. We'll look at Dr. William Tiller's experiments at Stanford, showing that focused consciousness can alter the physical properties of matter, including your own biology. Part 5, breaking the pattern recognition loop. Why your brain is designed to confirm what you already believe about yourself and the specific practices that interrupt this loop. We'll integrate breathwork, energy clearing, and timeline shifting. Part 6, the complete mirror reprogramming protocol. A step-by-step system to shift from being an unconscious observer trapped in patterns to becoming a conscious creator of your quantum reality. By the end of this video, you won't just understand the theory. You'll have the practical tools to literally change who you are as an observer, which means changing everything that's being reflected back to you. Prepare yourself, because what you're about to learn will challenge everything you thought you knew about why your life looks the way it does. Let's begin. 1927, the University of Göttingen, Germany. A young physicist named Werner Heisenberg is about to discover something that will fundamentally break our understanding of reality itself. He's running what will become known as the double-slit experiment, though the full implications won't be understood for decades. Here's what they did. They shot individual electrons, the smallest particles of matter, through 2 slits toward a detection screen. According to classical physics, these particles should behave like tiny bullets, creating 2 distinct lines on the screen corresponding to the 2 slits. But that's not what happened. When the electrons weren't being observed, they created an interference pattern, meaning they behaved like waves, somehow passing through both slits simultaneously and interfering with themselves. This suggested that a single particle was existing in multiple locations at the same time. But here's where it gets disturbing. The moment they placed a detector to observe which slit the electron went through, the interference pattern disappeared. The electron stopped behaving like a wave in multiple places and started behaving like a single particle going through 1 slit. The act of observation collapsed the wave of possibility into a single particle reality. Werner Heisenberg wrote in his journal, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning." Translation: the observer isn't separate from what's being observed. The observer is part of the creation of what appears. Einstein was so disturbed by this discovery that he spent the rest of his life trying to prove it wrong. He famously said, "God does not play dice with the universe." He couldn't accept that reality was this fluid, this dependent on consciousness, this shaped by the act of observation. But here's what the experiments kept proving over and over for the next 98 years. The observer effect is real. Consciousness collapses possibility into reality. And here's the question that changes everything. If particles exist in multiple states until they're observed, what happens when you are both the observer and the observed? What happens when the primary thing you're constantly observing, moment by moment, thought by thought, feeling by feeling, is yourself? But here's where it gets even more interesting, and where science meets personal experience in the most profound way. Because there's another experiment conducted 66 years later that shows us exactly how your self-observation creates electromagnetic fields that shape your physical reality. And this one you can measure right now in your own body. 1993, the Institute of HeartMath begins studying something extraordinary. Let's go straight to the scientific point that changes everything about how you understand self-perception. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that is 60 times greater in amplitude than your brain. This field can be detected up to 3 feet outside your body with squid magnetometers, the most sensitive magnetic field detectors on the planet. In 1993, the Institute of HeartMath began measuring something remarkable. They discovered that when you feel emotions of coherence, gratitude, love, compassion, appreciation, your heart enters into a harmonic rhythm. Not just your heart, but this harmonic pattern synchronizes your brain, your nervous system, and even the electromagnetic field radiating from your body. But here's what's absolutely crucial. The quality of your self-perception directly determines the coherence of this field. When you observe yourself through the lens of unworthiness, your heart rate variability becomes chaotic. The electromagnetic signal you're broadcasting is literally the frequency of "I am not enough." When you observe yourself through shame, your biofield contracts and becomes dense. When you observe yourself through fear of being seen, your energetic signature broadcasts, "Hide me, protect me, I'm not safe to be visible." Dr. Rollin McCraty, the director of research at HeartMath, published findings showing that this electromagnetic heart field carries information. Not just emotional information, but biographical information. The story you tell yourself about who you are. And this field doesn't just stay inside you, it interacts with other people's fields. It interacts with the quantum field around you. They measured this. In one study, they had participants practice heart-focused self-compassion for just 5 minutes. Their heart rate variability shifted into coherence. Their cortisol levels dropped by 23%. But more than that, and this is where it gets quantum, the electromagnetic signature of their biofield actually changed the molecular structure of a DNA sample placed 3 feet away from them. Let me say that again. Your self-perception creates an electromagnetic field that is strong enough to alter DNA at a distance. And before you think that's pseudoscience, understand this: your body is 70% water. Dr. Masaru Emoto's research showed that water molecules form different crystalline structures based on the frequency of information they're exposed to. If thoughts and emotions can change the structure of water outside your body, what are they doing to the water inside your body? You're not just thinking thoughts about yourself. You're broadcasting an electromagnetic frequency that your cells, your DNA, your entire biology is constantly bathing in. Your self-observation is quite literally the nutrient solution your cells are growing in. Here's what most people don't understand about the observer effect. The universe isn't reflecting what you consciously think about yourself. It's reflecting what you energetically observe about yourself. And 95% of that observation is happening below conscious awareness. Think of it like this. Imagine you're standing in a room completely surrounded by mirrors. But these aren't ordinary mirrors. They're quantum mirrors. They don't just reflect your physical appearance. They reflect the frequency of your self-observation, the quality of how you're looking at yourself in this very moment. Now here's the key. You think you're looking at yourself with kindness. fitness, right? You've done the affirmations. You've practiced self-love. But meanwhile, there's a part of you, hidden in your subconscious, that's observing yourself through the lens of, I'm fundamentally flawed, or I'm too much, or I'm not enough, or I'm only valuable when I'm producing something. The mirrors don't reflect your conscious intention. They reflect the actual frequency of your observation. And that frequency is composed of 5% conscious thoughts, what you deliberately think about yourself, 30% subconscious beliefs, the stories you absorbed from parents, culture, trauma, 65% unconscious identity, the core template of who I am that was formed before you had language. So you're standing in this room of quantum mirrors saying, I love myself, I'm worthy, I'm enough. But the actual frequency you're transmitting, the one the mirrors are reflecting back as your life, circumstances, is still tuned to the 95% running underneath. That's why the same patterns keep showing up. If you observe yourself as unlovable at your core, you'll magnetize people who confirm that, not because you're broken, but because the universe is a perfect mirror. It's showing you exactly what you're observing about yourself. If you observe yourself as someone who always struggles with money, you'll create circumstances that confirm that perception, not because you're cursed, but because the quantum field arranges itself to match the frequency of the observer. If you observe yourself as someone who can't be fully seen or it's not safe to be visible, you'll unconsciously sabotage opportunities that would make you more visible, not because you don't want success, but because success would contradict your core self-observation, and the system protects coherence above all else. And here's the part that's difficult to accept. This isn't happening to you. You're not a victim of your self-perception. You are the self-perception. You are the observer creating the observed reality. The moment you truly understand this, everything changes. Because if you created this reality through unconscious observation, you can create a different reality through conscious observation. So what's the solution? How do you shift from unconscious observer trapped in old patterns to conscious creator of new realities? The answer is what I call coherent self-observation, the practice of bringing your conscious, subconscious, and unconscious levels of self-perception into alignment with the truth of who you actually are. Let me give you the first protocol. This is designed to be done daily for 30 days, and I'm going to be very specific about the steps, because precision matters. The Observer Reset Protocol, 15 minutes. Step 1, identify your current observer, 3 minutes. Sit comfortably with your feet on the ground. Close your eyes. Place your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your belly. Now ask yourself this question. How am I observing myself right now? What story am I telling about who I am? Don't analyze, don't judge, just notice. You might become aware of thoughts like I'm always behind, or I'm not where I should be, or I'm broken and trying to fix myself. Whatever arises, just witness it without attachment. This is the observer you've been operating from. Step 2. The energetic release. 4 minutes. Still with your hands on your heart and belly, visualize golden light pouring down through the crown of your head. See this light filling your entire body, your brain, your throat, your heart, your solar plexus, your belly, your root. This light represents truth, not story. As the light fills each area, say internally or aloud, I release the observation that I am. Fill in whatever limiting identity you noticed in step 1. Feel the energy of that old observer dissolving. You might feel emotion, you might feel resistance, you might feel nothing. All of that is perfect. The release is happening at the subconscious level, whether you feel it consciously or not. Step 3, the quantum choice. 4 minutes. Now, with your hands still on your heart and belly, ask yourself, how does the version of me who is already living my desired reality observe themselves? And here's the key. Don't think about it. Feel into it. What is the frequency of self-observation in that reality? Is it peace? Is it power? Is it freedom? Is it safety? Is it enoughness? Find that feeling. Don't force it, invite it. And once you touch that frequency, even for a moment, breathe it in. Breathe it into your cells. Let your electromagnetic field entrain to this new observation. You're not pretending, you're not faking it until you make it. You're quantum mechanically collapsing the possibility of that observer into reality by giving it your conscious attention and emotional coherence. Step 4. The mirror affirmation. 2 minutes. Place both hands on your heart. Feel the electromagnetic field of your heart and declare, not as hope, but as recognition of what is in the quantum field. I am the observer who creates reality through the quality of my attention. I choose to observe myself with the same consciousness that is already living the life I desire. My self-perception is not fixed, it is quantum, and I am collapsing into the version of me who already knows their worth, their power, their enoughness. I am not becoming this person. I am this person, observing myself newly. Step 5. Ground the frequency. 2 minutes. Finally, visualize roots of golden light extending from your feet deep into the earth. Feel the new frequency of self-observation anchoring into the physical realm. This isn't just happening in your mind. You're broadcasting a new electromagnetic signature that your environment will begin to mirror back to you. Open your eyes. When you first do this exercise, it might feel strange, even artificial. That's normal. Your system is so used to the old observer that anything different feels foreign. But here's what I know from working with thousands of people. If you do this practice consistently for 30 days, you will begin to notice changes, not just in how you feel about yourself, but in how reality responds to you. People will start treating you differently. Opportunities will start appearing. The same situations that used to trigger your old patterns will suddenly feel neutral or even positive. That's not magic. That's the quantum mirror responding to a new observer. Now, before you run off to start practicing this, there's something crucial I need to tell you about the 3 levels of self-observation and why most people only work with the top 5%. Let's talk about something most psychologists won't discuss with you: the 3 brains, and how each one holds a different layer of your self-observation. You don't have one brain, you have 3, and each one is observing you differently, creating 3 different electromagnetic signatures that compose your total biofield. The cephalic brain, your head brain, contains approximately 86 billion neurons. This is where your conscious thoughts live, your intellectual self-image, your deliberate affirmations, your intentional beliefs. This is the 5% I mentioned earlier. The cardiac brain, your heart brain, contains approximately 40,000 neurons. Yes, your heart has its own neural network that operates independently from your head brain. This is where your emotional self-observation lives. Research by Dr. J. Andrew Armour in 1991 first identified this little brain in the heart and showed that it sends more signals to the brain than the brain sends to the heart. The cardiac brain holds your felt sense of self, not what you think you are, but what you feel you are when no one's watching. This is approximately 30% of your observer function. The enteric brain, your gut brain, contains approximately 500 million neurons, more neurons than your entire spinal cord. This is your visceral self-perception, the somatic truth that your body knows before your mind catches up. This ancient brain holds patterns that go back to your earliest formation of self, often pre-verbal, often pre-memory. This is approximately 65% of your observer function. Dr. Michael Gershon, chairman of anatomy and cell biology at Columbia University, published groundbreaking research in 1998 showing that the gut brain produces 95% of your body's serotonin and manufactures about 50% of your dopamine. Your gut isn't just digesting food, it's creating the neurochemical environment of your self-perception. Here's the quantum principle. All 3 brains are simultaneously observing who you are and broadcasting electromagnetic information based on that observation. When these 3 are in coherence, all observing the same truth about you, your biofield becomes exponentially more powerful. The Institute of HeartMath measured this. When all 3 brains enter coherence, your electromagnetic field strengthens by up to 1,000%. That's not a typo, 1,000%. But here's what usually happens. Your head brain says, I am confident. Your heart-brain feels, I'm afraid of being rejected. Your gut-brain holds the somatic memory, it's not safe to be fully myself. The three brains are observing you with three contradictory frequencies, creating what's called incoherence in your biofield. And the quantum mirror doesn't know which signal to reflect. So it reflects the most energetically dominant signal, which is always the deepest, most unconscious one. The gut brain wins. That's why affirmations alone don't work. You're trying to override 95% of your self-observation with 5% conscious effort. It's like trying to steer a ship from a rowboat tied to the back of it. Here's what few people understand about the relationship between your self-perception and your reality. The universe isn't a passive mirror. It's an intelligent, responsive field that amplifies whatever observation you're feeding it most consistently. Think of it like a radio tower. You have three transmitters, head, heart, and gut, each broadcasting a different frequency about who you are. The quantum field is the radio tower that receives these signals and broadcasts them back to you as your lived experience. When your head transmits, I am successful, but your heart transmits, I'm not worthy of success, and your gut transmits the somatic memory of your father's disappointment, the radio tower doesn't try to reconcile these signals. It broadcasts the strongest, clearest signal, which is always the one coming from your oldest, deepest biology. Your gut brain formed first when you were developing in the womb, then your heart brain, then finally your head brain. The quantum field prioritizes signals based on evolutionary depth. Gut is louder than heart, heart is louder than head. So you can spend years working on changing your thoughts and reality won't shift because you're working with the youngest, weakest transmitter. This is why trauma gets stored in the body, why you can intellectually know something but your gut tells you a different truth. Why you can understand at the cognitive level that you deserve love, but your cardiac rhythm reveals a belief that you're unlovable. Your reality isn't reflecting what you think, it's reflecting what your three brains collectively observe about you, weighted by depth and consistency. And here's where it gets even more interesting. These three brains can actually be brought into coherence, not through willpower, not through positive thinking, through specific practices that create synchronization between the three neural networks. When your head brain, heart brain, and gut brain all observe the same truth about you, I'm safe, I am worthy, I am enough, the electromagnetic field they produce together becomes so coherent, so powerful, that the quantum mirror has no choice but to reflect it back. This is the difference between someone who thinks they're abundant but keeps experiencing lack, and someone who knows abundance in every cell of their being and reality confirms it effortlessly. The second person isn't more deserving. They're not doing anything extra. They're just broadcasting a coherent signal from all three brains, and the mirror is reflecting that coherence back as their external circumstances. So here's the practical question. How do you bring your three brains into coherent self-observation? The answer is what I call three-brain coherence practice, a daily protocol designed to synchronize your head, heart, and gut into unified observation of truth. Part 1. Gut-brain activation, 4 minutes. Sit comfortably. Place both hands on your belly, just below your navel. This is where your enteric nervous system, your gut brain, is most concentrated. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply into your belly, feeling it rise and fall beneath your hands. This is called diaphragmatic breathing, and it directly stimulates the vagus nerve that connects your gut to your heart and head. Now, with each exhale, imagine golden light pouring down from above, filling your gut brain. As you breathe, ask your gut this question: what truth about me have you been holding that I haven't been listening to? Don't analyze the answer. Don't judge it. Just listen. You might get images. You might get feelings. You might get words. Your gut brain doesn't speak in sentences. It speaks in sensation and knowing. Maybe your gut has been holding the truth that I'm exhausted from performing, or I don't feel safe in my own life, or I'm pretending to be someone I'm not. Whatever emerges, thank your gut brain for holding this information. Now say to your gut, I see you, I hear you, and we're going to make changes together. Part 2, heart-brain activation, 4 minutes. Move your hands to your heart center. Feel the warmth of your palms against your chest. Feel your heartbeat beneath your hands. Begin breathing in for 4 counts, holding for 4, exhaling for 6, holding for 2. This is called cardiac coherence breathing, and it entrains your heart into a harmonic rhythm. As you breathe, bring to mind a memory of a moment when you felt genuinely at peace with yourself. Not because you accomplished something, not because someone validated you, just a moment when you felt okay being exactly as you were. Feel that feeling in your heart. Let it build. And as it builds, say to your heart brain, I am safe to be seen as I truly am. I am worthy of love exactly as I am. I'm enough, not because of what I do, but because of what I am. Feel your heart softening. Feel the electromagnetic field of your heart expanding. This isn't visualization. This is measurable coherence building in your cardiac neural network. Part 3, head-brain alignment, 2 minutes. Finally, place one hand on your heart and one hand on your gut. This creates a physical circuit connecting all 3 brains. Now, speak these words aloud. The vibration matters. My gut knows the truth. My heart feels the truth. My mind recognizes the truth. I am not who I was told I am. I am not who trauma convinced me I am. I am the consciousness observing the story, and I choose to observe myself with love, with truth, with clarity. My 3 brains are now coherent. My electromagnetic field is unified, and reality will reflect this new observer. Part 4, integration breath, 2 minutes. Keep both hands in place, one on heart, one on gut. Take 10 deep breaths, imagining with each breath that you're breathing golden light through all 3 brains simultaneously. See them lighting up together, gut, heart, head, all pulsing with the same frequency of truthful self-observation. This is coherence. This is what it feels like when your 3 neural networks observe you with unified clarity. When you complete this practice, don't immediately jump into your day. Sit for 1 more minute in silence. Let the new patterns stabilize. Your biofield is literally different than it was 12 minutes ago, and you need to give your system time to anchor this change. If you do this practice every morning for 30 days, you will notice something remarkable. The people around you will start responding to you differently. Not because you told them to, not because you're trying harder, but because the electromagnetic signature you're broadcasting, the one they're unconsciously feeling, has fundamentally shifted. You're no longer the observer who questions your worth. You're the observer who knows their worth, and the quantum mirror has no choice but to reflect that back. Now, there's one more piece we need to explore, the most advanced level of this work, and it involves understanding why certain patterns persist even after you've done all this inner work. Let me share with you one of the most important pieces of research that explains why changing your self-observation is so difficult and why most people give up right before the breakthrough. In 2004, Dr. Joe Dispenza began researching what he calls the habit of being yourself. He used functional MRI scans to observe what happens in the brain when people attempt to change their self-perception. Here's what he discovered. Your brain has created neural pathways, actual physical structures, based on your habitual self-observation. Every time you observe yourself as unworthy or not enough or broken, you're firing and wiring a specific circuit in your brain. And after years of repetition, that circuit becomes a superhighway. The brain is designed for efficiency. It doesn't want to create new pathways. It wants to use the existing superhighways because they're faster, they use less energy, and they're familiar. So when you try to observe yourself differently, I am worthy, I am enough, the brain literally resists because it requires more metabolic energy to create a new neural pathway. Dispenza measured this. When participants attempted to embody a new self-perception, Their brain activity showed massive resistance in the first 21 days. The default mode network, the part of your brain responsible for habitual patterns, would constantly pull them back to the familiar observer. But here's where it gets fascinating. After 21 days of consistent practice, the brain scans showed the beginning of new neural pathway formation. After 30 days, those pathways started to strengthen. After 60 days, the new pathways were as strong as the old ones. And after 90 days, the new pathway became the default. Translation: it takes approximately 90 days of consistent, coherent self-observation to completely rewire your identity at the neurological level. But there's more. Dr. Candace Pert, who discovered the opiate receptor in 1972, proved that your emotions are not just psychological, they're chemical. Every time you feel an emotion, your body produces neuropeptides, chemical messengers that travel through your bloodstream and attach to receptor sites on your cells. When you habitually observe yourself through shame, your cells develop receptor sites for shame chemistry. Your cells become addicted to the chemical signature of your limiting self-perception. So when you try to observe yourself with worthiness, your cells literally go into withdrawal. They start craving the familiar chemistry of unworthiness. This is why changing your self-perception feels so uncomfortable. You're not just battling your thoughts, you're battling cellular addiction to the chemical environment of your old identity. Dr. Bruce Lipton's work in epigenetics added another layer. He showed that the environment around your cells, which is determined by your emotional state and self-perception, actually controls which genes are expressed and which are silenced. When you observe yourself through fear, you activate stress response genes. Your cells go into protection mode. Growth, healing, and regeneration shut down. When you observe yourself through coherent truth, I am safe, I am worthy, I am whole, you activate growth genes. Your cells open, healing accelerates, your biology literally transforms. This isn't metaphor, this is measurable, documentable biology. Your self-observation is controlling gene expression in real time. Here's what most people miss about the observer effect in their own lives. You're not just observing yourself in isolated moments. You're observing yourself through time. Your current self-observation is layered with every version of you that came before. The child who was criticized, the teenager who was rejected, the young adult who failed at something important. Think of your self-observation like an ancient tree. The current you, the one trying to change, is just the newest growth at the top of the tree. But underneath, there are rings and rings of previous observations, each one crystallized into your cellular memory, your neural pathways, your electromagnetic field. The 5-year-old who learned "I'm too much" is still inside you, observing through that lens. The 12-year-old who decided "I'm not as good as everyone else" is still there, broadcasting that frequency. The 23-year-old who concluded "I'll never be successful" is still in your biofield, generating that reality. You're not one observer, you're a composite observer, a stack of every version of yourself that's still unconsciously running its own observation program. This is why surface-level affirmations don't work. You're standing at the top of the tree saying, "I am worthy," but there are 30 years of rings underneath you all saying, "No, we're not." And the quantum mirror doesn't reflect the newest voice. It reflects the loudest voice, which is always the collective voice of all your unhealed, unintegrated past observers. Here's another way to think about it. Imagine you're in a recording studio. You have 30 different tracks playing simultaneously, each one a different age version of yourself, each one observing who I am from their particular wound or limitation. Track 1, age 5, I'm not wanted. Track 2, age 8, I have to be perfect to be loved. Track 3, age 12, I'm different and that's bad. Track 4, age 15, my body is wrong. Track 5, age 19, I always fail, and so on. Now you add track 31, your current age. I am worthy, I am powerful, I am enough. But track 31 is just one voice in a chorus of 30 other tracks. tracks, all broadcasting contradictory information. The final mix, the one that actually gets broadcast into the quantum field, is dominated by the oldest, deepest, most repeated patterns. The solution isn't to try to make track 31 louder. The solution is to go back and re-record the old tracks, to find each past observer, witness their pain, and integrate them into a new, coherent understanding of who you actually are. This is what real shadow work is. This is what timeline healing actually means. You're not trying to override the past. You're going back and changing what each version of you observed about themselves in that moment, which literally changes the electromagnetic information that's still broadcasting from that timestamp in your cellular memory. And here's what's miraculous. When you do this work, when you go back and heal the observer at each developmental wound, the quantum mirror doesn't just change your future, it reorganizes your past. Memories shift, the emotional charge dissolves. Events that defined your identity lose their power. Why? Because you're changing the observation that created the memory's meaning in the first place. You're demonstrating quantum retroactivity, the scientifically proven principle that changing how you observe something now changes how it exists in the past. So what's the practical application? How do you actually go back and re-record the old tracks? This is the most advanced practice I'm going to teach you today. I call it timeline observer integration. This is a 20-minute practice you do once a week, systematically healing each past version of yourself. Timeline observer integration protocol, 20 minutes. Preparation. Identify the target age, 2 minutes. Sit in a quiet space. Close your eyes. Take 3 deep breaths. Now ask yourself, what's the earliest age I can remember observing myself as fundamentally flawed, unworthy, or not enough? A number might come to you, an age. Don't overthink it. Whatever age appears is the one your system is ready to heal right now. Maybe it's 5, maybe it's 12, maybe it's 17. Trust what emerges. Step 1. Enter the timeline, 3 minutes. With that age in your awareness, imagine you're looking at a horizontal line of light stretching behind you. This is your timeline. See yourself walking back along this timeline, moving backwards through the years until you arrive at the age that came to you. See yourself at that age. What were you wearing? Where were you living? What was happening in your life? Now, most importantly, what were you observing about yourself at that age? What conclusion did that version of you come to about who they were? Don't rush this. Really feel into that younger self. They might show you a specific memory, the moment they decided, I'm not lovable, or I have to be perfect, or I'm fundamentally broken. Step 2. Witness without fixing, 5 minutes. This is crucial. Don't try to fix that younger version of you. Don't tell them it's going to be okay or you're wrong about yourself. Just witness them. Feel what they're feeling, see what they're seeing, understand why they came to the conclusion they did. They made sense of their world with the information and nervous system capacity they had at that age. They weren't wrong. They were doing their best to survive and make meaning. Place your hand on your heart and say to that younger version, I see you. I see why you observed yourself this way. I honor the conclusion you came to. It helped you survive. And now I'm here to show you a different possibility. You might feel emotion rising. You might feel grief for that younger self. Let it move. This is cellular memory releasing. Step 3. Offer the new observation, 5 minutes. Now imagine your current self, the consciousness you are now, sitting down next to that younger version. You're not above them. You're beside them as an equal. And you say to them, what you observed about yourself in that moment wasn't the truth. It was a conclusion you drew from limited information. Here's what was actually true. You were whole. You were worthy. You were enough. The rejection you experienced wasn't about your value. It was about someone else's pain. The criticism you received wasn't truth. It was projection. You are not what happened to you. You never were. As you speak these words, imagine golden light flowing from your heart into the heart of your younger self. This is the electromagnetic frequency of truthful observation transferring across time. Step 4. Integration, 3 minutes. Now ask that younger version, are you ready to come home? If they say yes, imagine them standing up and walking toward you. As they reach you, they merge into your body, into your heart. You're integrating that timeline, that observer, that version of you that's been stuck in that old perception. Feel the integration happening. Your biofield is literally reorganizing. The electromagnetic signature of that past wound is dissolving and being being replaced with coherent truth. Step 5. Seal the timeline. 2 minutes. Finally, imagine yourself walking back along your timeline toward the present moment. But notice, the timeline looks different now. It's brighter. The electromagnetic charge of that old wound has been cleared. When you arrive at the present moment, place both hands on your heart and declare, I am not the composite of my wounds. I am not the accumulation of limiting observations. I am the consciousness that witnesses all of it, and I choose to observe myself through the truth of my inherent worthiness. That younger version of me is now integrated, healed, and free, and so am I. Open your eyes. Do this practice once per week, working through different ages where you formed limiting self-observations. You might need to revisit the same age multiple times. That's normal. Some wounds have layers. Most people find that after working through 5 to 7 key developmental moments, their entire biofield shifts. Patterns that have been running for decades suddenly release. The mirror starts reflecting a completely different reality. Why? Because you've literally gone back and changed what the observer was observing at the source of the pattern. This isn't just psychology. This is quantum timeline work. And it's one of the most powerful practices you can do to shift from being trapped in old observations to becoming a conscious creator of new reality. Now, before we move into the conclusion, I want to address the error that 90% of people make when they start doing this work, and it's the difference between transformation and just temporary change. As I promised earlier, I'm going to reveal the #1 error that prevents 90% of people from successfully shifting their self-observation and therefore their reality. And this error is subtle, it's insidious, and you're probably making it right now without even realizing it. The error is this: trying to change your self-observation while still seeking external validation that the change is working. Let me explain what I mean. You do the practices. You shift your frequency. You bring your 3 brains into coherence. You integrate past versions of yourself. And then you look out at your external reality, your relationships, your bank account, your circumstances, hoping to see evidence that the mirror has changed. And when you don't see immediate external evidence, you conclude it's not working. I'm still the same. Nothing has changed. And in that very moment of seeking external validation, you've collapsed back into the old observer. Because the old observer is the one who needs external proof. The old observer is the one who says, I'll believe I'm worthy when the world treats me as worthy. I'll believe I'm abundant when I see abundance in my bank account. I'll believe I'm lovable when someone loves me. But here's the quantum principle you must understand. The external world is always a lagging indicator. The quantum mirror doesn't reflect instantaneously. It reflects with a delay that can be days, weeks, or even months, depending on how deeply entrenched the old pattern was. When you change your self-observation, you're changing the signal you're broadcasting, but the signal has to travel through your biofield into the quantum field, organize circumstances and people and opportunities, and then manifest as physical reality. This process takes time. If you change your observation today and then check tomorrow to see if your reality has changed, you're like someone who planted a seed yesterday and is digging it up today to see if it's growing yet. The digging itself, the seeking of external validation, is what kills the seed. The new observer doesn't need external proof. The new observer knows their worth, knows their power, knows their truth, regardless of what the mirror is currently showing. Because the new observer understands that they're looking at OLD reflections, images from the past observer that are still processing through the lag time of physical manifestation. Your job is not to look for evidence that you've changed. Your job is to maintain the new observation with unwavering consistency, trusting that the mirror will update in its own timing. And here's what happens when you do this. The moment you stop seeking validation, the moment you rest in the knowing of who you are, regardless of what the external world is showing you, that's the moment the quantum field registers your new signal as stable and permanent. And that's when the external reality begins to reorganize. People who successfully transform their reality all have this in common. They changed their self-observation and then held that new observation steady, even when the mirror was still showing them the old reality. They didn't waver. They didn't doubt. They didn't need proof. They were the proof. So if you've been doing this work and getting frustrated that your external circumstances haven't changed yet, I'm telling you, that's the test. Can you hold the new observation without external validation? Can you know yourself as worthy before the world treats you as worthy? Can you know yourself as abundant before your bank account shows abundance? Because the moment you can do that, the moment you become so rooted in the truth of your new self-observation that you no longer need the mirror to confirm it, that's the moment the mirror has no choice but to confirm it. So let's integrate everything we've covered in the last 60 minutes. First, you discovered the science of the observer effect. You learned that in 1927, quantum physicists proved that observation literally collapses possibility into reality. Consciousness isn't witnessing an objective world. Consciousness is creating reality through the act of observation. And the most important thing you're observing, moment by moment, is yourself. You learned about the HeartMath Institute's research showing that your self-perception generates an electromagnetic field that can be detected 3 feet outside your body and is powerful enough to alter DNA at a distance. You learned about the 3 brains, head, heart, and gut, each holding a different layer of self-observation, and that true transformation requires coherence between all 3. You learned about Dr. Joe Dispenza's research showing that changing your self-observation rewires your neural pathways, and that it takes approximately 90 days of consistent practice to make a new self-observation the default pattern. You learned about Dr. Candace Pert's discovery that your cells develop receptor sites for the emotions you habitually feel, creating a biological addiction to your old identity. This wasn't philosophy. This was measurable, documentable science proving that your self-observation is literally creating your biology, your electromagnetic field, and the reality that mirrors back to you. Second, you explored the energetic mechanics of self-perception. You learned that your biofield, the electromagnetic field that surrounds and interpenetrates your body, carries the information of your self-observation. When you observe yourself through limitation, your biofield contracts and becomes dense. When you observe yourself through truth, your biofield expands and becomes coherent. You learned about the quantum mirror principle. The universe is not a dead, mechanical reflection. It's an intelligent, responsive field that amplifies whatever signal you're broadcasting most consistently, and the signal it's receiving is composed of 3 levels: conscious thought, 5%, subconscious belief, 30%, and unconscious identity, 65%. You learned that you're not just one observer. You're a composite of every version of yourself from every developmental stage, each one still broadcasting its own observation program until it's consciously integrated and healed. Third, you received practical protocols. You learned the Observer Reset Protocol to identify your current observer, release limiting observations, and collapse into a new quantum possibility. You learned the 3-brain coherence practice to synchronize your head, heart, and gut into unified self-observation, creating exponentially more powerful electromagnetic signals. And you learned the Timeline Observer Integration Protocol to go back through your personal history, find the versions of you that formed limiting self-observations, witness them with compassion, and integrate them with truth, literally changing your electromagnetic signature across time. These aren't just techniques. These are technologies for rewiring your identity at the neurological, emotional, and cellular level. When you integrate these 3 pillars, the science, the energy, and the practice, you're not just learning theory. You're becoming a quantum-conscious human being, capable of observing yourself with such clarity and coherence that the universe has no choice but to mirror that observation back as your lived reality. Now I want to hear from you. Here's what I want to know. What is the core observation you've been holding about yourself that you now recognize has been creating your reality? Is it, I'm not enough, I'm too much, I'm fundamentally broken, I'm unlovable, I'm not not safe to be seen? Leave it in the comments below. And here's why I'm asking. When you name the observation out loud, when you witness it and share it, you begin the process of releasing it. Your unconscious pattern can only run as long as it remains unconscious. The moment you bring it into conscious awareness and speak it, you've started the integration process. And if you want to share what you're choosing as your new observation, the truth you're collapsing into, please do that too, because your declaration might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to give them permission to claim their own truth. I read every single comment, and I will respond. You're not alone in this work. We're doing it together. If this content resonated with you, if something in you recognized truth in what we explored today, subscribe to this channel and activate notifications. Every week I bring you new videos that integrate quantum physics, consciousness science, energy medicine, and practical spirituality. This isn't surface-level content. This is deep transformation work for people who are ready to understand the real mechanics of reality creation. We explore topics like biofield anatomy, timeline shifting, trauma release, coherence practices, natural magic, and quantum manifestation, all grounded in science, all applicable to your actual life. This video is just the beginning of your journey from unconscious observer to conscious creator. There's so much more to discover. Join us. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message, someone who's been stuck in the same patterns despite doing all the inner work, someone who keeps attracting the same type of relationships or circumstances, someone who's ready to understand the quantum mechanics of why their life looks the way it does, share this video with them. You might be the person who introduces them to the understanding that finally shifts everything. Your share could literally change someone's life. That's not hyperbole. That's the ripple effect of consciousness awakening to its own creative power. Before we close, I want you to understand something that's crucial. You didn't find this video by accident. There's no such thing as coincidence when it comes to consciousness. The fact that you've watched all the way to this point, the fact that you've absorbed this information, the fact that something in you resonated with this understanding, that's not random. You're here because you're ready. Your higher self orchestrated this moment. The version of you that already lives in the reality you desire pulled this information into your awareness because you're ready to become the observer that can create that reality. So what happens now is not up to the universe. It's not up to your circumstances. It's not up to other people. What happens now is up to you. You have within you right now the power to change your self-observation. And when you change your self-observation, you change the electromagnetic signal you're broadcasting. And when you change the signal, you change what the quantum mirror reflects back to you. This isn't magic. This is quantum mechanics. This isn't hope. This is documented science. This isn't theory. This is the actual mechanism of how consciousness creates reality. You are not a victim of your past. You are not limited by your circumstances. You are not defined by how others have observed you. You are the observer, and the observer has the power to collapse any possibility into reality simply by giving it sustained, coherent attention. So starting today, starting right now, commit to this work. Do the Observer Reset Protocol every morning. Practice 3 brain coherence daily. Work through the timeline integration once a week. And most importantly, hold the new observation steady, even when the mirror is still showing you the old reality. Because here's what I know to be true. The quantum field is always responsive. The mirror always reflects. And when you become unwavering in your self-observation, when you know yourself as worthy, as powerful, as whole, regardless of external circumstances, reality will reorganize itself to match that knowing, not because you forced it, not because you manipulated it, but because that's how the quantum universe works. The observer creates the observed, always. So go be the observer your future self needs you to be. Go hold the truth of who you actually are. Go broadcast the frequency of the reality you're choosing to collapse into. The mirror is waiting. It's always been waiting for you to see yourself clearly, for you to observe observe yourself truthfully, for you to recognize that you are not the person looking in the mirror. You are the consciousness creating both the mirror and the reflection. And when you truly understand that, everything changes. I'll see you in the next video. Until then, stay coherent, stay conscious, and remember, you are the observer who creates reality through the quality of your attention. The universe is reflecting. Make sure you're showing it something worth reflecting.